Welcome to Rustic and Shine Resin Designs. I'm Judy Byer, and today we're creating what I'm calling my Okanagan Mementos. What I've got here are little slices of wood. These pieces of wood are all local wood, mainly from my backyard. Some from my Christmas tree from last year, so I'm really using things that are local and recycling as much as I can. Most, besides the ones from my Christmas tree, are from branches from trees in my backyard. So what I've done with these is cut them. My husband actually cut them, so I'll give him credit for that. But what I did then was I dried them in my oven. And once they're perfectly dry, then I can use them to pour resin on. So what I'm doing, I'm mixing up my clear resin. This is again, Resin Art Flow is the type of resin that I'm using, and I'm mixing thoroughly. This is an equal parts mixture of the two resin and hardener together. Stirring, making sure the resin is clear, that it's very well mixed so we don't have any issues once it's trying to dry and set up. This is a critical part, is making sure you mix enough. It can take 3 to 5 minutes. We did do a little speed up on this, so the mixing was longer than what it appears on this video. I'm taking out some of the resin to put into a small container, and that's because this is going to be what I'm going to use as a white the white portion of my wave. This is a Passion Top Cell white coloring, and my blue that I'm using is an ocean blue shimmer, and that's from Artwork Resin. So these are some of my favorite colors. This blue is a very deep blue. It looks really nice on the wood. So we're basically doing a little ocean scene on each piece of wood. So that's the aim of these. I've got a bunch laid out on little cups that I'll be putting the resin onto, just mixing it till it's a color that you like. I like to make it quite a deep blue because that's what I was aiming for with this mixture. I've used different colors, but today is a nice dark blue. It really offsets the wood texture. So starting off with just putting a bit of the resin on each piece of wood. And of course, each piece of wood, they're different types of wood, they're different shapes. So there's, a lot of variety in this and in the finished product. They're a little bit finicky in that, sometimes they're not necessarily level, so that's a little trickier, but it just gives a unique finish at the end. So just put your color on. I'm usually aiming to put about anywhere from about around a half of the wood being covered with resin. Sometimes it's more if the wood piece is uneven. The resin might flow to cover more of the wood piece than I intended, but that's okay. That just makes it unique. You can't make them the same anyways. Every single one is different. Even though I'm using the same resin on each of them, the end product is different. And that's cool too, because no water is the same. So you've got that, consistency as far as the water goes, that this is very individual. And I'm just spreading the resin out so that it covers the wood on the top. We don't necessarily need this to be flowing over the side of the wood, because this wood has got the bark on it, and that's kind of a nice finish as to the look at the end, is to have that bark on the wood. It helps just to offset the blue. And so if you're, looking at it from a side, you've got that full look of the piece of wood being consistent. And just spreading it around. And this is a little bit time consuming. This is a little bit time consuming in that you have to do each one individually. It's not just pour the resin on and away you go. You need to kind of help it along, make sure it covers all of the wood. And this blue that I did, it's dark enough you don't actually see the wood behind the resin. Sometimes when I do these, I do them with a lighter color of the blue so that you can see the wood grain underneath. So that's kind of a fun way to do it too. It's just, again, fooling around and trying different things, seeing what they look like. But today we're doing the dark, which again is a really nice finish. You can, make it look really like it's deep water, but it's got a really nice warm feel to this blue. Spreading it around, you can see some of the pieces of wood are thicker than others. These are handcrafted, and hence the reason each one is unique. So getting the blue on all of these, and again, I'm always paying attention to my time. I have a clock that is something I am watching all the time so that I know I'm keeping on schedule. I've got about 25 minutes maximum that I want to work and have my resin pouring completed by. So putting the blue on, I've got about 25, I think, pieces of wood here I'm working on. I find that if I try to do much more than that, it's too much, and I am pushing my time frame too far and not having the white behave the way I want it to. And you'll see what I'm talking about, how the white behaves here shortly. I'm just finishing up getting the blue on all of them. And I've got, spaced out a little bit, so I've got room in between them because I am going to be using my heat gun. So I need to have a little bit of room to move around and get in to each individual piece of wood to push the product into the blue. So when I'm using the white, which that's going to be coming up here soon, that's where you want to get what's called lacing. The lacing is something that occurs partially by using heat and partially by using some time. The time works with the resin to help create the lacing, which gives you the foamy look of the water. So I'm just finishing up here, spreading the resin, making sure I'm happy with how they're all looking. And you'll see there's very little waste with the way that these pieces are. There isn't much flowing off of the pieces of wood, so that's really nice. Now I did mix up more of the blue than I needed. I'll just use that to pour into some other smaller molds, so it won't go to waste. You won't see that on here, but I will use it up. You never want to waste your resin. It is expensive, so make the most of it. And here I'm starting with my white. This I'm just drizzling along the edge of the blue, and you don't need a lot. This is just going to make the edge of the wave. So each piece of wood is getting the finished product put on it. Once the white is on, then that's it as far as the amount of resin that's going on each one of these. And this, I've waited for this white to thicken. Again, you need to have a close watch on your time. If the white is too thin, it's not going to create the lacing that I'm looking for. I want it to be thickening up a little bit. The container may be getting just a little bit warm with the resin as it's starting to set up. So again, just drizzling across. These will just have one wave on them. So once this white is on and we push the white into the blue, then these will be the final pieces as far as the resin portion goes. So the fun part is putting the heat gun onto these to see how the product is going to move. You'll find some pieces have more white that blows into the blue, creating a different effect. Even though it looks like I put on a consistent amount on each one for the white, every one is unique as to how it will go and behave. So now I've got my heat gun, and I'm just going to do a quick once over just to pop any bubbles that are in the blue, just to kind of get rid of those before I push the white in and create the lacing of the water. Okay, so here we're starting. So it's holding the gun at an angle and just blowing the white. And you can blow as much or as little as you like. And I think you can see how each one is different. And the lacing starts fairly quickly. I often will use the heat gun and a torch to help just bring out a little bit more of the bubbles. It doesn't need a lot of extra heat from the torch, but it does help. And you can see there the nice lacing effect that's already starting. And that one got a little bit more covered in resin compared to some of the others, and that's okay. They're all different. It's just a quick going over with the heat gun. And because these aren't all necessarily super level, you may have some of that resin kind of flow back into the line of the white, which that's fine. It's, water is unique. It behaves differently, and each area on a beach is made of different types of sand and different levels, so there's no right or wrong. And you can see that's I'm getting very near the end of all of these. These are another fun item that I like to do. It's cool to see the finished product because the lacing continues to happen as the resin is setting, and it's kind of when I come back the next day that I see how it is, because by then everything has hardened and set. So here I've decided today I'm going to do the quick torching, just going quickly. I don't want to catch my pieces of wood on fire, so being aware of that, and also being aware that with resin it is flammable, so you've got to be moving quickly with your torch so that you're not creating any fires or smoke that's not what you want to do. You just want to get that extra heat, and it just takes very little to get the waves to create that lacing. And then that's it. Okay, so now I've finished the resin pouring. They've sat overnight, they've hardened, and I've taken them, and what I do with them is I take and drill a hole in the top of them, and then I add on a jute cord. And these now become little pieces of art, and they can be used for various things. You can write on the back of them if you wanted to, put them on a bottle of wine to give to a friend. You can hang them on your Christmas tree. You can just use them any way you want. These particular ones I put onto cards. These are my Okanagan Mementos because these are locally made from wood here in the Okanagan. I put them onto these cards with a little verse that I made up, and they're great to give to people as little gifts from the Okanagan, people who visit here from other places. So I hope that you enjoyed today, and that you keep having fun with your resin just like I'm doing. Thanks again. You can learn more about me on Facebook at Rustic and Shine Resin Designs. Thanks again. I'm Judy Byer.